Adeyemi woke up early that morning like she did every morning. The sun was just starting to shine through the tall windows of the master bedroom in their big mansion in Ikoyi, Lagos. She could see the light spreading across the white ceiling like liquid gold. She lay there for a few moments, listening to the sound of Kunal breathing beside her. He was still sleeping, his face calm and peaceful. She looked at him for a moment, trying to remember when she had stopped feeling excited to wake up next to him. She got out of bed quietly and walked to the bathroom. The bathroom was bigger than her first apartment had been. Everything was white and silver and expensive. There were bottles and jars and products for every part of her body. She looked at herself in the mirror. She was 34 years old, but sometimes she felt like she was much older. Her face was pretty, she knew that. People told her so all the time at the dinner parties and charity events she attended. But her eyes looked tired. They looked sad. They did not look like the eyes of someone who was truly happy. She went downstairs to the kitchen where the housemaid, Grace, was already preparing breakfast. Grace had worked for them for 3 years. She smiled when she saw Adeyemi. "Good morning, Ma. I have made your tea just how you like it," Grace said. Adeyemi thanked her and sat down at the long dining table. The table could fit 20 people, but usually only 3 of them sat there: Kunal, Adeyemi, and their son Emeka. While Adeyemi drank her tea, she thought about what she used to do in the mornings. Long ago, before she got married, she would wake up early and go to her boutique in Victoria Island. She would unlock the doors and turn on the lights, and the shop would come alive with colors. There were fabrics everywhere, bright reds and deep blues and yellows so bright they hurt your eyes. There were rolls of Ankara cloth with patterns that told stories. There were beads and threads and needles and scissors. Her small team of designers would arrive, and they would sit together, talking and laughing and creating beautiful things. People would come to her shop looking for something special. They wanted designs for weddings, for celebrations, for important moments in their lives. Adeyemi would listen to them carefully. She would understand what was in their hearts, and then she would create something that showed their dreams and hopes in fabric and thread. When customers came back to pick up their finished clothes, they would cry with happiness. They would hug her. They would tell her she had made them feel beautiful. Those moments had made her feel alive. But that was before. That was before she met Kunal. Kunal was handsome and successful and very, very rich. When he first saw her at a party, he was mesmerized. He told her she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. He told her he wanted to give her everything. At first, it felt like being in a dream. A man like Kunal, successful, powerful, from one of the best families in Lagos, wanted her. He would call her every day. He would bring her gifts. He would talk about their future together. When he asked her to marry him, he did it in the most romantic way. He took her to dinner at an expensive restaurant where they could see the whole city of Lagos spread out below them. He got down on one knee and gave her a ring with a diamond as big as her thumbnail. Everyone in the restaurant turned to look at them and applauded. Adeyemi said yes, and she meant it with all her heart. At first, marriage was wonderful. Kunal showed her off proudly. He brought her to all the important parties and dinners. He introduced her to powerful people. He bought her beautiful clothes and jewelry. He gave her this beautiful house. Everything seemed perfect. But slowly things began to change. 3 months after they got married, Kunal told her that he thought she should close her boutique. He said it in a soft voice, but there was something firm underneath his words. "My love, I want you to focus on us now," he said. "A woman of your position does not need to work. It does not look right. People will think I cannot take care of you. Besides, you will have so much to do as my wife. There are charities to manage, events to plan, houses to run. You will be very busy." Adeyemi tried to argue. She told him her boutique was her dream. She told him she could do both, be his wife and keep her business. But Kunal was patient. He was kind. He never raised his voice. He simply kept saying the same things over and over until her own voice got smaller and smaller. Finally, she agreed to close the shop. She told herself it was temporary. She told herself she would open it again after a few years. The day she closed the boutique, she cried. She packed up the fabrics and the beads and all her tools. She said goodbye to her small team of designers. She locked the door for the last time and gave the key back to the landlord. That night, Kunal took her to an expensive dinner to celebrate. He bought her a new bracelet. He told her how proud he was of her for making this sacrifice for their love. But she never opened another boutique. Years passed. 7 years passed. Now Adeyemi lived in this big, beautiful house, and she felt like she was disappearing. She went to parties where she stood beside her husband and smiled and said the right things. She organized charity events where people praised her work but forgot her name by the next week. She managed the house and the staff. She attended lunches with other wives who also seemed to be slowly disappearing. Her son Emeka was 9 years old now. He was a clever, sensitive boy. He noticed things. He noticed that his mother smiled in public but not in private. He noticed that she would sometimes sit alone in the garden and stare at nothing. He had asked her once, "Mama, are you happy?" She did not know how to answer him. That morning, as Emeka came down to breakfast, he gave his mother a hug. She held him close, breathing in the clean smell of his hair. This was what she had now. This was what was left of her life. A beautiful house, expensive things, a kind husband who did not want her to have her own dreams, and a son who was learning to see through the beautiful cage they all lived in. She looked out the window at the green gardens and the high walls that kept the world out. Everything was beautiful and perfect and arranged just so. But inside her chest, something was slowly breaking. Something was dying. And she did not know how to stop it. Cunnel sat in the expensive bar in Victoria Island with his friends, a glass of whiskey in his hand. The bar was dark and cool, with soft music playing in the background. He was laughing loudly, telling his friends about Adeyemi and how easy it had been to make her close her boutique and stay home. "You see, men, it is simple," he said, leaning back in his chair. "A woman like that, she had dreams and ambitions, but what does she really need? A man to take care of her. A big house. Expensive things. Once you give her those things, she forgets about everything else. She forgets about her little shop and her little designs. She becomes what you want her to be." His friends laughed with him. They ordered more drinks. They talked about their own wives, about how they controlled them, about how easy it was to make women forget their own dreams and focus only on pleasing their husbands. But what Cunnel did not know was that someone was listening. Adeyemi had a cousin named Amma. Amma was a lawyer, a strong woman who worked in an office in Lekki. She was successful and independent, and she had never been married. She did not believe in losing yourself for a man. When Adeyemi had called her that morning, her voice sounding broken and tired, Amma had known something was very wrong. "Amma, I think I am losing myself," Adeyemi had whispered into the phone. "I do not know who I am anymore. I used to be someone. I used to create things. Now I am just nothing." Amma listened to her cousin and her heart broke. She decided to do something. That same day, Amma went to visit a journalist friend named Tund. Tund worked for one of the biggest newspapers in Lagos. He was a good man who liked to write stories about powerful people who did bad things. Amma told him about Cunnel and about what he had done to Adeyemi. She told him how Cunnel had made her give up her dreams, how he controlled her, how he made her feel small. Tund listened carefully. "This is a story," he said. "But I need more information. I need to know if this is something bigger than just one marriage." Amma agreed. She decided to make some phone calls. She called a woman named Zara who worked in human rights. Zara was strong and brave, and she had helped many women who were in bad situations. Amma told her about Cunnel and asked if she could help. Zara said yes immediately. "I have heard stories like this before," she told Amma. "There are men who use money and power to control women. We need to find out if Cunnel is one of these men." Together, Zara and Tund began to ask questions. They started by talking to other women. They went to parties and events and asked carefully, listening for stories. And slowly the truth began to come out. There was a woman named Chioma who had been married to Cunnel's business partner. She told them that she had seen Cunnel with different women. She said he seemed to enjoy making women feel small and dependent on him. Another woman, named Blessing, told them that Cunnel had once tried to make friends with her, whispering to her about how he could help her, how he could give her anything she wanted. But the most important discovery came when Tund was doing research into Cunnel's business. He found something interesting. Cunnel was involved in several business deals that were not clean. He had taken money from poor people by promising them investments that never happened. He had lied to banks. He had hidden money in different places. His wealth was not all honest. Some of it was built on lies and cheating. Tund brought this information to Zara and Amma. "This man is not just controlling his wife," Tund said. "He is a criminal. He steals from people. He lies to get money. This is bigger than we thought." Meanwhile, Cunnel continued to feel very proud of himself. He went to more parties. He went to his office where he made more deals, some honest and some not. He came home to his beautiful house where Adeyemi was waiting for him, and he felt satisfied. He felt like he was winning at life. He had money, he had power, he had a beautiful wife who obeyed him, and he had friends who admired him. But he did not know that 3 people were working very hard to uncover all his secrets. Amma decided to do something brave. She called a detective, a man named Kweku who worked for the police. She told him everything she had discovered. Kweku was interested. He began his own investigation. He looked at Kunnal's bank records. He talked to people who had lost money to Kunnal's fake investment schemes. He gathered evidence. After 2 weeks, Kweku came back with a large file full of papers. "There is enough here to charge him," Kweku said. "This man has committed fraud. He has stolen money from at least 15 people. Some of these people lost everything." Tun decided to write a story. He called it The Hidden Face of Wealth, How One Lagos Businessman Built His Fortune on Lies. The story was long and detailed. It told about all the people Kunnal had cheated. It told about his business crimes. It told about how he controlled his wife and made her give up her dreams. The story also had pictures and documents that proved everything. But before the story was published, Amma did something else. She went to visit Adeyemi. She brought Zara with her. They sat in the beautiful living room of the mansion, drinking tea that Grace had made for them. "Adeyemi," Amma said gently, "I need to tell you some things. I have been investigating Kunnal. And I have found out that he is not the man you thought he was." Adeyemi looked at her cousin with confusion. "What do you mean?" she asked. Zara took her hand. "Adeyemi, your husband has done bad things. He has cheated people. He has stolen money. He has committed crimes. And the way he treats you, the way he makes you give up your dreams, this is also wrong. You deserve better." Adeyemi felt the room start to spin. She did not know what to say. Everything she thought she knew about her husband was changing. Amma showed her the documents. She showed her the evidence of Kunnal's crimes. She showed her the stories from other women he had hurt. Adeyemi read everything with her hands shaking. "What do I do?" Adeyemi asked in a small voice. "You have choices," Amma said. "You always had choices. You were just told that you did not. Tomorrow, Tun's story will be published in the newspaper. Kweku will arrest Kunnal. And you, my cousin, you will be free to decide what you want to do with your life. You can go back to making beautiful things. You can be yourself again." That night, Adeyemi could not sleep. She lay in bed beside Kunnal, listening to him snore, and she thought about everything Amma had told her. She thought about her boutique. She thought about the design she had never made. She thought about the woman she used to be, the woman who made people feel beautiful and happy. And for the first time in 7 years she felt something like hope. The day Adeyemi packed her bags and left the big mansion in Ikoyi, she felt like she was waking up from a very long sleep. She had only taken what belonged to her: her clothes, her books, some photographs, and most importantly, the old sketchbooks from her boutique days. She had hidden these sketchbooks in the back of her closet for 7 years, and now she held them like they were the most precious things in the world. Kunnal was in police custody by then. The newspaper story had come out that morning and it was everywhere. Everyone in Lagos was reading about his crimes, his lies, his stolen money. The police had arrested him at his office. Adeyemi did not feel happy about this. She did not feel angry either. She just felt tired and empty and ready to start again. Emeka held his mother's hand as they climbed the stairs to their new apartment in Yaba. The apartment was small and simple. It was nothing like the big mansion. The walls needed paint. The furniture was old. But it was theirs. It was quiet. It was honest. For the first time in a long time, Adeyemi felt like she could breathe properly. "Mama, will we be okay?" Emeka asked. He was worried. He was only 9 years old, but he understood that everything had changed. Adeyemi knelt down and looked into her son's eyes. "Yes, my baby, we will be more than okay. We will be happy. Real happy. Not the fake kind of happy where we pretend everything is good when it is not." That first night, they sat on the floor of their empty apartment and ate rice and beans that Amma had brought for them. They did not have much furniture yet, but they did not need it. They had each other. That was enough. The next morning, Adeyemi woke up early like she always did. But this time, instead of feeling empty, she felt purposeful. She opened her old sketchbooks and looked at the designs she had created years ago. They were beautiful. She had forgotten how good they were. She had forgotten how much joy she felt when she created them. She spent that whole day going through her sketchbooks. She drew new designs too. Her hands remembered what to do. Ideas came to her like water flowing from a tap that had been turned on for the first time in years. She drew patterns inspired by the colors of Lagos, the deep blue of the ocean, the orange of the sunset, the green of the markets. She drew traditional Ankara patterns mixed with modern styles. She created designs that told stories about African women, about their strength, about their beauty, about their dreams. By evening she had filled 10 new pages with designs. Her hand was sore, but her heart was full. The next day, Adeyemi did something she had not done in a long time. She went to the local market in Yaba. She walked through the stalls of fabric sellers, touching the materials, smelling the authentic colors, talking to the people who sold them. She bought small pieces of beautiful Ankara cloth, some cotton, some linen. She brought them home and began to sew. She did not have a proper sewing machine. She had left that behind at the mansion. So she sewed by hand, using needles and thread, the way women had sewn for hundreds of years. It took longer, but it felt more real somehow. It felt like she was connecting with something ancient and true. After 2 weeks, she had created her first piece. It was a dress made from a beautiful deep blue Ankara cloth with patterns of stars. She modeled it herself, taking pictures with her old phone. The dress fit her perfectly. It made her feel beautiful and strong. She posted the picture on social media with a simple message, "A dyer reborn. Celebrating African beauty. Handmade with love." The first person to comment was her cousin Amma. "This is beautiful. You have to make more of these. I will buy one." Then other people started commenting. People she did not know. Women who saw the picture and felt something. They wrote messages like, "This is exactly what I have been looking for," and "Please tell me how I can buy this," and "You are so talented." Adeyemi was surprised. She did not think people would want her designs. But they did. Many people wanted them. She decided to create an online shop. She did not have much money, but Amma helped her set it up. It was free and simple. She posted pictures of her handmade designs. She wrote descriptions in simple, honest language. She told the story of why she made each piece. Within a week, she had received orders for 5 dresses. 5. People had actually paid money for her designs. She could not believe it. But now she had a problem. She could not make all these dresses by hand. It would take too long. She needed help. Adeyemi decided to visit the women in her neighborhood. There were many talented women in Yaba who needed work. She went door to door, showing her designs and asking if they would like to help her make clothes. She offered to teach them her methods and pay them fairly for their work. The first woman to say yes was named Folake. Folake was a widow with 2 children. She was good with her hands and eager to work. Together, they set up a small workspace in Adeyemi's apartment. They sewed together, talking and laughing, creating beautiful things. Then Adeyemi met Zainab, who was excellent at doing beadwork. And she met Omotara, who knew traditional dyeing methods that created the most beautiful colors. Soon, Adeyemi had a small team of 6 women working with her. They called themselves a Dyer Reborn Sisters. They worked together to create designs that celebrated African heritage. They used sustainable materials. They paid fair wages. They supported each other. Word spread quickly. Other women wanted to work with them. Local fashion bloggers started writing about them. Magazines wanted to feature their work. Online orders kept coming. They had to move to a bigger workspace, a small warehouse in Mushin that Amma helped them rent. Within 3 months, a Dyer Reborn had grown from Adeyemi working alone to a team of 12 women creating beautiful, authentic African fashion. They were selling online and starting to get orders from shops. They were making enough money to pay everyone fairly and still have money left over to reinvest in the business. But more than the money, something else was happening. The women who worked for a Dyer Reborn were changing. They were becoming more confident. They were learning new skills. They were earning their own money and making their own choices. Folake was able to send her children to a better school. Zainab was able to move to a nicer apartment. Omotara was able to start saving money for her dream of opening her own dye workshop. Adeyemi saw this and she realized that her business was becoming something bigger than just making clothes. It was becoming a place where women could rebuild their lives and rediscover their power. Every night, after the work was done, Adeyemi would sit with Emeka and show him the orders they had received. She would show him the pictures of women wearing a Dyer Reborn designs. And Emeka would smile proudly at his mother. "You are amazing, Mama," he would say. "You create beautiful things." And Adeyemi would hug him and think about how far she had come. From a woman who had lost herself in a beautiful cage to a woman who was building something real and true and good. From someone who had forgotten her dreams to someone who was helping other women remember theirs. The journey was just beginning. But for the first time in many years, Adeyemi knew exactly where she was going. 2 years had passed since Adeyemi left the mansion in Ikoyi. 2 years since she had stepped out into the world with nothing but her old designs and her courage. Now, standing in the flagship store of a Dyer Reborn in Victoria Island, she could hardly believe how much had changed. The store was beautiful. It was bright and welcoming with high ceilings and large windows that let in natural light. The walls were painted in warm earth tones, terracotta and gold and deep brown. On display were hundreds of pieces created by her team, dresses, shirts, scarves, bags, all made from authentic African materials and designs. Each piece told a story. Each piece celebrated the beauty and strength of African women. Customers came from all over Lagos to shop there. They came from other cities too. Some customers flew in from other countries just to visit the store and meet Adeyemi. The prices were fair and honest. Nothing was cheap or made to cheat people. Everything was made with care and respect. But the story of Adaya Reborn had spread far beyond Lagos. International fashion magazines had written about Adeyemi. They called her a visionary. They called her a revolutionary. Her designs had appeared in magazines like Vogue Africa and Elle. Celebrities wore her clothes to important events. Actresses and singers and activists posted pictures of themselves wearing Adaya Reborn designs on social media, and millions of people saw those pictures. What made Adeyemi different from other fashion designers was that she did not just make beautiful clothes. She had a bigger mission. She wanted to help other women like herself, women who had lost their dreams, women who needed a chance to rebuild their lives, women from poor neighborhoods who had talent but no opportunity. So she created something called the Adaya Reborn Academy. This was a program where young women could come to learn about fashion design and business. It did not cost money. Everything was free. Adeyemi believed that talent should not be blocked by lack of money. She taught the young women herself, along with her team. They learned how to design, how to sew, how to understand colors and patterns, how to run a business, how to dream big. Many of these young women came from places like Lekki slums or Bariga or Ajiguna. Places where there were not many opportunities. Places where people struggled every day just to survive. Adeyemi would go to these neighborhoods and find the girls who had talent and fire in their eyes. She would invite them to join her academy. She would tell them, "You have gifts inside you. Let me help you discover them." The young women who joined the academy changed their lives. Some became designers. Some became managers. Some became teachers who helped other young women. Many of them earned enough money to help their families, to pay for their siblings' school fees, to move out of the slums. One girl named Adekunle came from a very poor family. Her father had died and her mother was sick. Adekunle was 14 years old when she joined the academy. She was quiet and shy, but her hands had magic in them. She could create designs that seemed to come from somewhere deep and true. Adeyemi saw her potential immediately. Within a year, Adekunle had become one of the best designers in the academy. By the time she was 16, she was earning enough money to help her mother pay for medicine and food. By the time she was 18, she was managing a team of seamstresses. Now, at 20, she was one of the most talented designers in the company. Adekunle wanted to be like Adeyemi. She wanted to help other girls like herself. Stories like Adekunle's were happening over and over. The Adaya Reborn Academy had trained over 100 young women. Many of them now worked for Adaya Reborn. Others had started their own small businesses. Others were studying in universities, their fees paid by the money they had earned from Adaya Reborn. Then Adeyemi did something even bigger. She decided to expand beyond Lagos. She opened a flagship store in Accra, Ghana. Then she opened another one in Nairobi, Kenya. Each store was beautiful and welcoming. Each one employed local women and taught them the Adaya Reborn philosophy, that business should help people, not just make money. She now employed 50 women across the 3 countries. 50 women who were earning good money, who were learning valuable skills, who were becoming confident and powerful. 50 women who were no longer trapped by poverty or bad circumstances. But the most important thing Adeyemi did was create something called the Adaya Summit. This was an annual conference where female entrepreneurs from all over Africa came together to share their stories and their knowledge. They talked about business. They talked about challenges. They talked about dreams. They supported each other. The first Adaya Summit had only 50 women. But word spread. The second year there were 200 women. The third year there were 500. Women came from Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, Cameroon, and many other countries. They came to listen to each other. They came to learn from Adeyemi. They came to be part of something bigger than themselves. At the last Adaya Summit, Adeyemi stood on the stage in front of 1,000 women. She spoke about her own journey. She told them about the big mansion and the beautiful cage she had lived in. She told them about the day she walked out of the charity dinner. She told them about her fear and her doubt. And she told them about the power of choosing herself. "I want you to know something," she said to all those women. "Your life does not belong to anyone but you. Your dreams do not belong to anyone but you. If someone tells you that you need to give up your dreams for them, that person is taking away a piece of your soul. Do not let that happen. Fight for yourself. Fight for your right to be who you really are." The women in the audience stood up and applauded. Many of them were crying. They were crying because they recognized themselves in Adeyemi's story. They were crying because she had shown them that it was possible to escape, that it was possible to rebuild, that it was possible to become powerful. Meanwhile, in a prison in Lagos, Kunal sat in his cell and read the news on a small tablet that one of his lawyers had smuggled in. He read about Adeyemi's success. He read about her stores in 3 countries. He read about the Adair Summit. He read about how she had become a role model and inspiration to thousands of women. He felt something strange inside him. It was not quite anger, not quite regret, but something in between. This was the woman he had told to give up her dreams. This was the woman he had mocked in front of important people. This was the woman he had tried to make small and dependent. And now she was bigger than he had ever been. She was more powerful. She was more respected. She was more loved. He had tried to silence her, and instead, she had become a voice that thousands of women listened to and followed. Kunal was released from prison after serving 3 years. He had admitted to his crimes and cooperated with the police, which helped reduce his sentence. When he walked out through the prison gates on a Tuesday morning, the sun was bright and the world looked different from how he remembered it. He was 52 years old now and he felt much older. He had lost everything. His businesses were gone. His money had been used to pay back the people he had cheated. His reputation was destroyed. People in Lagos did not speak his name anymore, except to tell cautionary stories about greed and control. He had nothing left but his pride, and even that was broken. He went to live with his sister in a small house in the mainland. She was kind to him, but he could see the disappointment in her eyes. His family had been humiliated by his crimes. His name, which had once meant power and success, now meant shame. Kunal spent his days reading news on the internet and watching the world move forward without him. And everywhere he looked, he saw Adeyemi. Her face was in magazines. Her name was in articles about African fashion and women entrepreneurs. There were videos of her giving speeches at universities and conferences. There were stories about how she had helped hundreds of young women change their lives. She had become famous. She had become successful. She had become everything he had tried to prevent her from being. One day, Kunal received an invitation. It was to the annual African Fashion and Business Gala, one of the most prestigious events in Lagos. The invitation said that Adeyemi would be giving the keynote speech. Kunal stared at the invitation for a long time. He knew he should not go. But something inside him wanted to see her. He wanted to see what she had become. He wanted to understand what he had lost when he tried to control her. So he went. The gala was held at the same 5-star hotel where he and Adeyemi had attended so many parties during their marriage. The ballroom was decorated beautifully with lights and flowers. Hundreds of people were there. Business people, fashion designers, journalists, celebrities, investors. Everyone who was anyone in Lagos was in that room. Kunal stood at the back trying to be invisible. He wore a simple dark suit, nothing like the expensive designer clothes he used to wear. He looked around the room and felt like a ghost. Nobody recognized him. Nobody cared that he was there. Then the lights dimmed, and the host called everyone's attention to the stage. Adeyemi walked out onto the stage and the room erupted in applause. She was beautiful. She had always been beautiful, but this was different. This beauty came from inside her. It came from confidence and purpose and knowing exactly who she was. She wore a dress made from Adair reborn fabric, a stunning design in deep purple and gold that celebrated African patterns. Her hair was styled naturally, and she wore jewelry that looked both elegant and meaningful. She stood at the microphone and looked out at the audience. For a moment, her eyes moved across the room and they landed on Kunal. For just a second she looked at him. Then she looked away and began to speak. "Good evening," she said, her voice clear and strong. "I want to tell you a story tonight. It is a story about losing yourself and finding yourself again. It is a story about pain and power. It is a story about what happens when a woman decides that she matters more than anyone else's expectations." She told the audience about her journey. She told them about the dreams she had abandoned. She told them about the years she spent trying to be what someone else wanted her to be. She did not mention Kunal by name, but everyone in the room understood who she was talking about. They had read the news. They knew her story. "I was so afraid," Adeyemi said. "I was afraid that if I left I would have nothing. I was afraid that I could not survive on my own. I was afraid that I was not good enough to be successful by myself. But do you know what I realized? The fear was the cage. Not the house. Not the money. Not even the man. The fear was what trapped me." She talked about the moment she walked out of the charity dinner. She talked about the emptiness and the uncertainty that came after. She talked about rediscovering her passion and her talent. She talked about the women she had helped and how their success had given her even more purpose. "I built my empire not to prove anything to anyone," she said. "I built it because I had to. Because my soul was dying and I had to save my own life. I built it because I had gifts that needed to be shared. I built it because I wanted to help other women who felt trapped like I did. Every dress we make, every young woman we train, every dream we help come true, these are not about revenge or proving someone wrong. They are about love. They are about honoring the woman I was always meant to be." The audience stood up and applauded. Women were crying. Men were moved. Connell stood in the back and tears were running down his face too. He was crying but not with sadness. He was crying because he finally understood what he had done. He had tried to control something beautiful and in doing so he had destroyed his own life. After the speech there was a reception. People crowded around Adeyemi, congratulating her, wanting to talk to her, wanting to be near her. Connell stood alone, watching from a distance. Then something unexpected happened. Adeyemi's son Emeka, now a tall and confident 17-year-old, walked over to Connell. Emeka had his mother's kind eyes and his father's strong face. "Hello, father," Emeka said simply. "Thank you for coming to support my mother." Connell was shocked. He did not expect his son to speak to him. "Emeka," he said, I'm proud of you. You have become a fine young man." "I learned that from my mother," Emeka said. "She taught me what real strength looks like." Then Emeka walked away and a moment later Adeyemi came over. She looked at Connell and there was no anger in her eyes. There was also no love. There was just a clear, calm understanding. "Connell," she said, "I did not expect to see you here. I wanted to see what you had become," he said honestly. "And now I know. You have become everything I was afraid you would become if you did not have me to control you. You have become powerful and successful and respected. And you did it without me. You did it despite me." Adeyemi nodded. "Yes, I did," she said. "I want you to understand something. I did not build this empire to show you up or to prove you wrong. I built it because I needed to survive. I built it because I had talent and gifts that wanted to come out. I built it because there are thousands of women who needed what I could give them. This empire is not about you. It was never about you. It is about me and about the women I serve." "I understand that now," Connell said quietly. "And I am sorry, Adeyemi. I am sorry for what I did to you. I am sorry for trying to make you small so that I could feel big. I was a fool and I paid the price for my foolishness. But you turned your pain into something beautiful. You turned your rejection into power. That is something I will never be able to do." Adeyemi looked at him with compassion but also with firmness. "You can do it if you want to," she said. "But that will be your own journey. I have my own life to live. I have my son, my business, my purpose and my peace. Those are the things that matter to me now." She turned to leave and Emeka came and stood beside his mother. He put his arm around her shoulder and she put her arm around his waist. They walked away together, leaving Connell standing alone in the middle of the beautiful ballroom. As Connell watched them go, he understood something finally. He had tried to own Adeyemi and in doing so he had lost her. He had tried to control her dreams and in doing so he had lost himself. The empire she had built was not built against him. It was built for herself and for other women. It was built from love and purpose, not from anger or revenge. Adeyemi had transformed her pain into purpose. She had taken her rejection and turned it into an empire of empowerment. She had become not just successful but truly powerful, the kind of power that comes from knowing who you are and what you stand for. And Connell, sitting in prison or walking free, would never have that kind of power. He had destroyed it in himself when he tried to destroy it in her.